Welcome to Resilient Love Podcast.
Join hosts Quentin and Brianna as they discuss tips on love, life, and
business.
Let's get into this next episode.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Resilient Love Podcast. Today, we will have Miss Daphne Wells. Miss Wells, will you introduce yourself to our listeners?
Thank you. Yes, love to. Thank you for having me. So I am a business success and freedom coach and numerologist coming to you from the South Island of New Zealand, from where I work with heart-led women around the globe. And I help them primarily, they come to me when they're at a crossroad, and I help them get exactly what they want, which is usually more money, more success, and more freedom to live the lifestyle that they choose for their family. So most of the women who come to me, family is extremely important. And so they want to be able to create what they want for their family.
Exactly. And, it's so powerful that you say that, because as newlyweds, we still call ourselves newlyweds, even though it'll be 2 years in July. We definitely want to have that same drive, that same freedom. And I love how you mentioned that on your website. Freedom means you're able to choose. That's what freedom really means. And with that being said, I want to talk about the business coaching, because I love how you have the phrase crack the code. And so when you're cracking the code with your clients, we want to know, what is your success code? We did the assessment too, but what is your success code and how do you measure success?
So how I measure success for me personally? So on that list, I'm a 4 from when you downloaded your thing. Which number did you come out as?
7.
7? Right.
And Quentin came out as a
6.
Aha. Yes.
And look.
So, and that list there. That list there is very high level, right? So then obviously the next step after you download that is to jump on the free call with me that you also get to work out how that actually shows up for you individually. So interestingly enough, I'm a 4. And if you look at that list, it says that the barrier between me and success will be my second guessing of myself and my decisions, which back a few years ago was definitely me. And, you've looked at my website, you would have noticed on there, my book is called Decide, Choose Your Own Path. And that was like, I didn't realize that was my success code at that stage. I didn't realize I was a 4 and that was what was stopping me. Learning how to make decisions in a way that was aligned for me was part of my growth journey. And then I became a numerologist as well, which is where this success code comes from, right? So this is, and it shows up differently. So I did always second guess myself and my decisions, very much so. And now I don't, because I have the way to make decisions. And you're right, freedom to me is about having the ability to choose anything your heart desires. And so success, I talk about being a business success and freedom coach. And when we talk about business success, for a lot of people, that's making all the money they want and having a great big business. Most of the women who come to me have a habit of sacrificing themselves for others. And certainly that's part of my life journey. And so business freedom and success going together means that if you're successful, you're making as much money as you want to be able to make the choices you want, to have that freedom to create the lifestyle you want. The success part is about doing all of that and still being able to live that lifestyle you choose. So no longer sacrificing yourself in the process.
Yes. And as women, we definitely put that extra sacrifice. And for our men up here, I know you're listening like, well, what is it in for me? I want you to know when you have a strong woman who's focused and building herself, she can then build her family. And through this success plan, I know personally I've been encouraged because just looking at my own number, I was like, that's me, having that inner conflict. Because I believe a lot of times in business, we begin to self-sabotage through comparison. And when you compare yourself, you hinder the greatness within you. And so that leads us to kind of talk about another question, just to kind of see what your thoughts are. You want to add to that though?
I think it's so true that comparison does kill anything, really, doesn't it? Because we are all so unique.
Yep. And I love how we're talking to you in North Carolina and you're all the way in New Zealand. Success travels.
But success is universal. Like, people want success, and women especially, and no disrespect to you, I love men dearly. However, I choose to work mostly with women because that is who I attract. That is who I know. That is who I am, right? And I have worked with men who have been on similar life journeys. So, yeah.
Yeah. And that's good that you mentioned that, because you have to have that target audience. Yes. And zoning in on that target audience helps you to craft such a unique package like we've read. So we're going to put the link in the description for you guys to take your assessment so that you can check it out and also get some great coaching from Ms. Wells.
And make sure that you book your free call with me once you've done that, so that we can then look at how you can overcome that, what's stopping your success, right?
Exactly.
I also think that when you know your target audience, it just seems like it makes your decision making better.
Yes.
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 So as we go more in depth, how has the pandemic challenged the business world? Did you notice more clientele? Did the pandemic affect your success plan?
So what I did notice was that a lot of my clients it became more difficult for them to do what they wanted to do. Their time was more precious because they were homeschooling children. Often their husbands were working at home. So there was more of this juggling act that we as women do, right? And so often, the women who come to me are at this crossroad, and they are already doing something in their life, whether it's a job or a business, and they want to add something else to it or go in a different direction. So it's a matter of that working out, well, how can you do it all? What are your priorities? How can you use the time you have to create the results you want? So pandemic added all the other stresses into there. There was we were missing out on social connection. We had children at home. We were homeschooling. We had husbands working at home. We had a lot of women, as you know, a lot of families are caring for older parents as well these days. Yes. So that factor in there as well. So it was like there was this added layer of things to navigate that were added in there for the women in business who I serve and support.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So in that thought process, did you find yourself having to almost pivot your processes, or were they still continuing on as usual?
So there wasn't so much pivoting, Brianna. It was about refining it. Because I really, pivot is a word that got bandied around a lot, especially this time last year when we were in the beginnings of the pandemic, right. And everybody was pivoting, and there's a temptation to do that, right? And there's also this inner knowing that if what you are doing in your business, in your life, is aligned with who you are, with your values, and with where your vision is for your life to go, then it is more a matter of refining than pivoting, in my personal opinion.
Now that was good. I hope y'all caught that. We sometimes jump on these catchphrases,
Trending topic.
not really zoning in on the actual definition of what we're saying or the messaging of what we're saying. We have to refine our processes. I like that.
And for some businesses, you know, if you couldn't, say you were a restaurant and you couldn't physically have people in your building anymore, then you can't overnight become a different business. You can refine what you do in terms of, well, are you allowed to deliver meals to people? Are you allowed to prep restaurant quality meals for people to then complete at home? You know?
Yeah.
So that you can still continue in some way, shape, or form.
I love that. I hope y'all caught that tip from Ms. Wells. Now that I love how you said refine it, because that leads me to this question. Throughout all of the experiences and your interaction with your clients, how has this made you a resilient coach?
Oh, very much. I think I believe the more that we work on ourselves and grow ourselves, because I'm a great believer that your business will only grow as much as you do. So it's about working on yourself as much as you do on your business. They go hand in hand. And in that process, you become more resilient because you become more focused on what's really important to you.
Wow.
And that focus and the alignment means that you are resilient. You can withstand what happens to you when you are so sure of who you are and where you're going. And that, for me, you know, that's one of the reasons that I combine numerology and with coaching, because in numerology, it really helps you to learn and accept and encompass who you were born as, rather than who the world conditions us to be. Because we were all born with a blueprint, a code, an intention, a purpose for our lives. And sometimes that's squashed by our families, even though they love us to pieces, and by society because they want us to be somebody else. You know, you see before you today a confident leader, and yet as a child, I was totally the opposite, because anytime I spoke up about anything, it was squashed. And, you know, now that I know the numerology of my family, I can understand why that happened. And yet it now allows me to accept who I am in a deeper way than ever before, you know. So it's that really knowing yourself and growing in yourself that's important to make you resilient.
Wow.
I like how you say it in a way that numerology kind of brings a refinement and brings some content to who you are, where you come from, kind of brings it together and find your individual being.
Yeah, because even if you look at, you know, you as a number 7, Brianna, that, you know, you're in a conflict between your need to be in action as a barrier to your success. And if you don't know, when you don't know that's a go-to thing that you can stop yourself with, it's a way that you will naturally stop yourself. We can, as women and as men, as humans, we can become very critical of ourselves and blame ourselves and make ourselves not good enough, not, you know, that we're not doing enough. And really that doesn't help us. If we know that is how we can stop our success, that block that we put up for ourselves and how we sabotage ourselves, we can look for ways to overcome that. And we can know, okay, so that's what I do. What am I choosing to do instead?
Wow, right. And that, like I said, it was so mind-blowing when I did that activity, because I'm like, wow, you know, that really is a barrier I face. Seriously. So I definitely want to attack it head on. And, in attacking things head on, I want you to share with our listeners a little more about you, because this conversation is great. And I know that they want to actually have that one-on-one opportunity with you. So could you share with our listeners any final remarks and how they can get in contact?
Yeah, sure. Love to. So you're going to put the links along with the podcast, aren't you, for where they can get that free gift? Yeah. So you will also get access to a free call with me there. And I'd just love to have conversations with people about this kind of thing and help you move forward. So you can get all of that at my website, daphnewells.com, or you can track me down on social media, find me somewhere and send me a message. And, I love to have these kinds of conversations with people, because I love seeing those ahas in people. Like, you've realized this, and when we jump on a call together, we can work out, well, what can you do instead? What's the steps you can take so that you know how to circumvent that? And all of a sudden you're away,
Yeah, exactly. And I'm walking in my freedom. Because freedom is the ability to choose. And
it's
that's
the ability
to be
to choose anything your heart desires, so it's really knowing what your heart does desire, isn't it? And yeah.
Exactly. So guys, this has been another great episode of Resilient Love. And we want to say thank you again, Ms. Wells, for your time. And give a shout out to everybody in New Zealand for us.
And say hi to everyone in Carolina and the US. And thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to all listeners and subscribers. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Leave us a 5-star review on Apple so that we can continue sharing resilient love. Thanks for listening.